Good morning, or more likely good afternoon by the time this comes out. Um, Yesterday, ooh boy, yesterday, Sunday, it was. What a day that was. So, um, something happened yesterday. Something very strange. Something I'm still trying to process to the best of my ability, but I'm gonna be honest, it's very hard to process this having happened. So I guess to start with, let me just give a little bit of context. My Chemical Romance's canceled fifth album, The Paper Kingdom, which they recorded in 2012, which has been, I'd say, for the last few years, one of my greatest obsessions. Um, I'm very enamored by the concept of it. Anything we have gotten of Paper Kingdom, I've just adored. Um, so for me, and it's been a long time kind of thing. I've been very into, and you know, so basically, they recorded it in 2012, and then scrapped it because they didn't really like how it was coming out and they needed a break. And then in 2022, it got stolen from hard drives from their original producer, and it got sold on the black market. And from that, we had like three snippets that we could hear, all of which sounded very interesting. And then in 2024, we had the song Witch get fully leaked, and it was genuinely one of my favorite songs I'd ever heard in my life. I became so obsessed with it. I just loved everything about it. And then last year, we had MCR themselves revive one of the songs, War Beneath the Rain, by playing it live at three or so shows. And once again, just sounded incredible. Absolutely adored it. Was very enamored. And now, on February 1st, the all of the stuff that was stolen and leaked online, it got just fully released yesterday. Anyone can listen to all of it. Legally, I cannot tell you where to find it, but if you just Google Paper Kingdom leak, it's like the first result. You don't gotta dig that hard. You don't gotta go on stuff with viruses. It's very simple to find. And yeah, it's over an hour. I think it's like 16 songs, and yeah, it's all there. And so with this, I feel the need to talk about it and also say a few things. First of all, the MCR community is in a real big uproar about this because, and this happened too when Witch got leaked. There's kind of this big morality question within the fan base. So like, is it okay to listen to these? Like, is it wrong to leak these songs and listen to them? Are we going against the band's wishes? Is this hurtful to do? And I'll admit I have a pretty firm stance on this, but I will say I don't think it's right that these songs got leaked the way they did. I'm not going to say MCR deserved to have these songs leaked, and it was cool that happened. Like, it sucks. It sucks that after their producer died, these got stolen and put online for crazy amounts of money and all that stuff. That sucks. That obviously sucks, and I wish that had happened to them. But but we can't change that. Okay, it happened. What happened, and they're online now, and these are the only ways these are gonna get released. Okay, I know some people like to say like, oh, if they want them released, they would do it, or there's still a chance they will. They're not going to. Okay, and even if they did do something Paper Kingdom again, it's not going to be these exact songs. It's not going to be these exact recordings. These are never going to be released officially by them. I don't even know if they have them anymore. This is our only way we're ever going to listen to this. And quite frankly, life is short. Okay, life is short. Life is hard. I think it's okay to indulge a little and listen to songs that are, spoiler alert, that are really, really good by our favorite band, you know, before we die. I think that's okay. And on top of that too, you know, there's a lot of like, someone else described it as this, but infantilization of the boys in regards to this, where people kind of act like, oh, you know, if MCR themselves knew this, they might break up again, or, you know, they'll be so upset to hear this. They are grown men, okay? They are performing, like, $1 million shows, huge arenas, big screens. They can handle this, okay? Am I saying that they're going to be happy about this happening? Probably not. They're probably a little upset this happened, but to act like, you know, they're going to want to quit again, or this is just going to really upset them, I think is going too much. I really don't think they're that sensitive about this. I think there's far worse things that could happen to them, or that they could feel regarding the band, than a album they recorded over 10 years ago getting leaked. I really don't think this is gonna, like, upset them this deeply as some people think. And on top of that too, you know, it's not like Paper Kingdom is this, like, untouchable, you know, curse that they just want to forget ever happened. They have referenced it constantly, you know, and they've brought back songs from it, and as I'm about to discuss, even used it secretly for things. So I don't know. I feel like, morality-wise, you could feel like it's wrong, and that's okay, but I think it's okay for people to listen to this, and I think it's okay that this happened, and I don't know. That's my stance. But anyway, let's actually talk about the album itself. Like I said, it's an hour long, and it begins with a demo for Fake Your Death, which is interesting because I was always of the theory that maybe it wasn't a Paper Kingdom song because it felt so different than the other Paper Kingdom songs we had heard this far, but this kind of fully confirms, no, it was Paper Kingdom, which is interesting, because, again, I still think lyrically it's very different from the other songs on here, but hey, it's cool. We got a demo. Then it goes to Witch, which, you know, we've had for over a year, but man, it's still one of my just favorite things ever made. I adore that song. I still say that's my favorite of all of these. It's still Witch. Witch is just, I don't know, man, that song sends my soul to the stratosphere. I'm just obsessed with it. Then the song after that, so I don't know what the names of all these songs are. We have the names of some of these, but I don't know the names of all of them yet. It's like I said, it's one big file. It's just 1 hour-long file that's not, like, individualized. But anyway, the song after that I really, really like a lot. To me, it sounds very based off of Emily, which has me curious because I always had a conspiracy that Emily was a Paper Kingdom song that they put in Living with Ghosts just for, I don't know, just for the fun of it. But this kind of paints maybe not, maybe Emily really was just a Black Parade demo and then they revised it as a Paper Kingdom song, or tried to. Because, yeah, feels very a lot like Emily, lyrically, and the melody too. But again, I adore it. I think it's really, really interesting. I love how it sounds. Really, 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 really good. And then the song after that is a bit more of a slower pace kind of thing. To me, it sounds kind of Conventional Weapons-y, but in a good way. I really like it. I love the piano emphasis on all these demos. I love that kind of dark piano sound. It reminds me a lot of the Hollow Knight and Silksong soundtracks, which is funny because, you know, those would obviously come after these were recorded and not be influenced at all, but to me they have kind of a similar vibe and I love both, so, you know, it's kind of a fun connection there. Then the song after that, we get you know, a pretty interesting through line throughout this album that I would not have expected hadn't it been leaked like this, which is that it sounds very Kid A by Radiohead, some of the stuff on this album. There's a bit of a dark techno kind of sound, which, you know, I feel like they were experimenting a little bit with Danger Days and, you know, and Conventional Weapons, and there's a bit of that in Foundations of Decay as well. But there's a lot of that in these demos, which I quite enjoy. I think sounds really, really cool. And yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing them do more of that in the future. Then after that, we get a song that I feel pretty definitively has the name, which is Birthday Girl, because that was one of the track lists before names. And this song is wild. This one's really, really weird. It's kind of, I don't know, it's very loud, abrasive. It has this kind of, I don't know, kind of like bluesy, like swing kind of feel to it. It's kind of like, I guess, how Teenagers was to Black Parade. This is kind of what this song feels like to this, but it's still, I don't know, it's very dark, it's very weird, but I like it. I like it a whole lot. There's so many ways I could just say I like all the songs on this leak, but that's just the truth. I like it a lot. Then after that, we get Dark Cloud, which was one of the original songs that we had the 3 snippets of back in, 2022 when this all first happened. And finally hearing the whole song is pretty surreal. You know, I'm so used to that snippet that was leaked before. But yeah, it's really, really good. It's very dark, it's very long and droning, but in a way I really, really like. I love long droning songs, so I'm very into this. It's really, really good. It's interesting too because the song starts with kind of this like this kind of like effect where it's like footsteps and then like a door opening onto the song, and it's very weird. A lot of these songs have like little effects or secrets or details like that are very, very strange. It has me curious how far along this was, because these feel like the kind of things that wouldn't be in a demo. But, you know, MCR is very detailed. They love these kind of things, so maybe for them this is regular to put in demos, but then none of the Black Parade demos had these kind of details, so I don't know. There's a lot of very specific details within just this demo, which is very surprising. And then after that, we then get the next song that was in the original snippets, Wake Up, which I also love a whole lot. To me, this song kind of screams like an anti-Danger Days song, or kind of like a parody of like a Danger Days song. It's very loud and abrasive, like Birthday Girl, but it's got this kind of sarcastic, very like kind of, I don't know, like kind of over it sound. If anything, I'd say this is the most cynical sounding thing. Like, I think some people figured that Paper Kingdom would feel kind of cynical from like what the band's place was at the time, and to me, this song is very cynical, very like, I don't know, not caring, but in a way that I still find very interesting to listen to, and I quite like. Then after that, we get another weird song that I don't know what the name of it is, but it kind of acts as a prelude to War Beneath the Rain, which I'll say when War Beneath the Rain was released, I figured that the war element of it was maybe more metaphorical, or, you know, like, yeah, just, I didn't know if it was, like, really about war in, like, the same way, like, songs on Black Parade were about war, but no, I don't know, this definitely makes it seem more like it is, or was. This song is another kind of slow, sort of long, droning one, but it's got an interesting sound. It's got really weird lyrics, specifically about atomic war, which I think is interesting because, you know, Black Parade, that was more like World War I kind of stuff, and now with this, it's like, it was the idea that then Paper Kingdom would kind of go into World War II. I don't know, but it's interesting to think about. And I really like it, and there's these trumpets that come in towards the end, which I really, really like. And yeah, it's another really interesting one. And then after that, we get the demo for War Beneath the Rain, which for the most part is similar to the final one that was, you know, played live last year, though there are some lyric changes, which has me curious, did they change those lyrics for the tour last year, or were those lyrics changed during the process? I don't know. But it sounds great. I really love War Beneath the Rain a lot. I actually like it most in the live version from last year, which, you know, I think does kind of raise that question, like, if these songs could get a second chance, could they sound even better than they already do? But that's probably a dangerous thing to ask. So yeah, I don't know. And then after that, ooh boy, after that we get what I think is one of the most interesting songs in this whole collection, and that we do have a definitive name for, Paper Swords, which, first of all, was used in the 2020 summoning video from MCR. You know, that video had a weird song at the end that felt really interesting sounding, and we all kind of thought, like, you know, was this made just for this video? No, it was not. It was off of Paper Kingdom, and this is it. And I gotta say, it's one of my absolute favorite songs in this new collection. I love it a whole lot. I love the lyrics. I love I was gonna say the vibes, which I know sounds silly, but it's just the truth. I love the vibes. I love, it's got such a spooky, mysterious sound, and it's got such great world building too. This song feels like the real kind of, I guess, world building song of this collection, you know, of the Paper Kingdom and what it is. And I really, really love this picture that they paint with it. You know, it's so dreary, but in a way I love the dreariness of it. Then the song after that, again, I don't know what the name of it is, but spoiler alert, I really like it. To me, this song sounds kind of like what, excuse me, it kind of sounds like what Gerard would end up doing with his solo music. It sounds kind of like those songs that he would make off Hesitant Alien. And again, it's got a great atmosphere to it. I say something I'm curious about in regards to it is, on the original track list leaking, there was a song called Operation Day that I was very fascinated by, because with a title like that, I'm like, okay, what the heck song was that? And I'm kind of wondering if that's what this song is. Again, there's a good chance I'm wrong, but this song, I don't know, it's about, like, specifically the end, where it's chanting for this person to wake up and come back to life, and there's these lyrics about drowning or swimming, and I don't know, it has me curious if this is in the idea of, like, the character dying, and this is them wanting to bring them to life, or I don't know, something like that. And it also kind of reminds me of when Gerard did his Hesitant Alien tour. He had a song he would sing at the end that I don't think had a name. I think it was just Piano Jam, but I think of it as Ambulance, because he says that a lot in the song, and it's this very sad song about someone dying in an ambulance. And I don't know, and I get kind of a similar vibe with this song, and I've always wondered if that was a Paper Kingdom song, and I don't know, there's a part of me that feels like maybe they're connected or something. I don't know, I'm probably crazy. But then we get the next song, which does have a name, High Hopes, which I would say is probably my second new favorite, behind Paper Swords. I really, 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 really like this one a lot. I think it's really interesting because, okay, so the thing with Paper Kingdom, I don't even think I've discussed what the story of Paper Kingdom was. So the story of Paper Kingdom is that it was going to be about parents in a support group processing the death of their children through the lens of a fantasy story, that being of the Paper Kingdom, and them, like, fighting a witch, which is a concept that I am very obsessed with, because I think what's so interesting about it is that typically when we have fantasy stories about children being lost, it's always from the child's perspective, and it's always a reflection of what they're feeling or going through. You know, something like Wizard of Oz or Alice in Wonderland, or, you know, different things like this. It's always about how the fantasy world reflects their real world, you know? But with Paper Kingdom, it's the inverse, right? It's about these parents and their guilt and their grief and their twisted, you know, views, and how that twists the fantasy world and how that twists their views of their loved ones. And I find that to be such a fascinating, really interesting idea, and I've been obsessed with it for so long, and I honestly want to make a movie about that. You know, I've had all these ideas for scripts I want to write, because I just think it's such a good idea, and it has so many ways you could explore it. But this song I think is really interesting because to me it reads like a fantasy, like kind of, I don't know, like Lost in the Woods, kind of Zelda Lost Woods, like this very enchanting kind of like, like feeling, like almost like, I don't know, I'm gonna sound silly trying to explain it, but it feels like, very fantastical, like elves or like fairies or something, like in the woods. It's got this very fantastical vibe, but again, it's twisted just enough to where it's like, this is from maybe a different perspective, than the person that's lost in these woods. It's from the perspective of someone grieving them. But this song's a lot more optimistic and hopeful than the other ones. It's called High Hopes, and it gives a feeling of hope, but in a, I don't know, maybe in a way that's like twisted, because the way that they finally find this hope is through a fantasy or through a delusion of, something they can't process or they can't comprehend. And there's something very beautiful about that and really fascinating to me. And I just put it frankly, I really like the song a lot. I think it's beautiful. It makes me want to rewatch Where the Wild Things Are, because it has that vibe, and I really, really like it. And then there's one last song on this, which, again, I don't know the name of, but to me it's very Kid A, Radiohead sounding. And I like it quite a bit. I'm curious. It's interesting, because even though these are demos, and I don't think there was an order to these songs, I think that's just how they're compiled on here, this does sound like what could be a final song on an album. It ends in kind of like a ending way, but I don't know, at the same time I'm not sure, because every MCR song or album ends very bombastically, very big, and this song doesn't. This song ends very sad and quiet, but maybe that's what Paper Kingdom needed. Maybe that's what it was going for. I don't know, but yeah, I like it a lot. I think it's great. So those are my quick thoughts on every track on this album. I guess I mean, if I really wanted to, I could probably talk for hours about these songs, but at the same time, I'm just listening to all these for the first time. There hasn't really been a lot of time for some of these songs to kind of ruminate and really get me, get in my head as to what I think they all mean and what I think they were going for. The same way Witch has. I've listened to Witch like 15,000 times, and at this point I have a pretty definitive takeaway of what I get from that song, and I don't really have that yet with these, which is fair. It's been very short amount of time since they came out, and I'm gonna have to listen to it a whole lot more to really gauge it. But I felt like it was important to discuss this, because I don't know, Paper Kingdom has been just something I've been very obsessed with for a long time, and I guess the question now is, where do we go from here? It's out now, it's been leaked, but I don't know. I see some people trying to say, like, well, they could still bring back Paper Kingdom, and some people are even saying this leak means that there's a new album coming, which is definitely not true. That is 100% not what this means. There could still be a new album coming, but this leak does not confirm or deny anything in that regard. As far as Paper Kingdom, again, I'm not sure if they'll ever bring it back. Here's my thing with Paper Kingdom. Okay, I've had this conspiracy for a very, very long time, and I wanted to make a whole video about it. But screw it, I'm going to put it as part of this video. Guess what? You get a bonus thing here. I've had a theory for a very long time that Paper Kingdom was restarted in like 2020 to 2021. I think they were working on it again. And I think they were going to... And I even have the theory that some of these demos might be from later than we think. Because we've had in our head that these demos are from 2012. But I don't know. A part of me wonders, what if some of these demos are more recent than that? They might be from like 2021 or 2020. My only proof of this is that like a year ago when the Witch demo got leaked, also what leaked with it was a demo for Foundations of Decay, which is like, why would there be a Foundations of Decay demo with that? I don't know, that seems suspicious to me. I mean, I know it's because they were all stolen from the same hard drive or whatever. I don't know. There's a good chance I'm completely wrong on this theory, but I do have to wonder. We have no proof that it was recorded in 2020, 2021, and we have no proof that it wasn't. We don't know. We truly don't. But I do think that they thought about restarting it and about doing it again. But I think there's two reasons why they didn't. I think one, because COVID happened. And MCR said before they don't want to make... Well, I will say, they've said before they don't want to make things dark when the world is dark. But I kind of have to question that, because this current tour they're doing in South America is extremely dark. You know, I think right now they're doing some of the darkest stuff they've ever done. And the world right now is pretty dark. So I feel like, I don't know, that kind of goes against that theory. But whatever, you know, I think there's a good chance that COVID happened. And they thought, hey, let's not make a super dark album right now. These are really dark times, not a good time. And I think more obviously why they didn't was because their producer, Doug McKean, passed away, and they didn't want to, you know, continue with it after that, which I think is fair. You know, I don't think that's a bad reason to not want to do the album. They've made all their past albums with him. I'm sure they kind of felt like, you know, where do we go from here now that he's passed away? And I think that's completely fair and reasonable, and I don't really have a problem with that reasoning. But anyway, you know, outside of that now, the question is, where do we go from here? Is Paper Kingdom coming back ever? There's a small chance it could. I don't know. But again, I think this being leaked doesn't invalidate if Paper Kingdom happens officially later, because I think if it does, it'll have completely new songs, completely different songs with lyric changes, songs with this. So what we have today is going to be very different from what Paper Kingdom would look like if they were to release it this year. You know, we still have differences, and there would still be a reason for them to do this. I don't think this leak happening would, like, make an eventual official Paper Kingdom invalidated, you know? But then outside of that, you know, there's a chance that they do MCR5, which I do think has a good chance of happening, and it's not Paper Kingdom. But it could have some of these songs, right? Like, they've shown that they love War Beneath the Rain. They could include that. They could include maybe Paper Sword, since they used it in the 2020 tour videos, you know, stuff like that. They could still reuse some of these songs, but not have it explicitly be Paper Kingdom. So, you know, that could happen too. I would love it if they did release these demos as is, just officially, but I don't think they'll ever do that. That's another thing too. I've seen some people saying, like, you know, some people have insisted maybe they could release these demos like they did the Black Parade demos. I don't think they're ever in a trillion years going to do that. I would eat my shoe if they did that. I am so convinced that they wouldn't, but I don't know. I guess there's a 10% chance maybe one day. So yeah, I don't know. You know, this is just what we have now. You know, we have Paper Kingdom leaked, and I'm sorry to those that feel like this is morally wrong. Some people might be really mad at me for even making this video and discussing Paper Kingdom this in depth, but again, as I've said, you know, life is short, and life is very hard. Things have been very, very hard, you know, and I think it's okay, you know, I don't know. I'm personally not gonna try to morally ponder this, because I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it'll solve much, and honestly, I think these songs are too good. You know, I think that's one of my biggest arguments pro these leaks. These songs are unbelievably just incredible, you know. This is a natural segue, I guess, to the end of this video, but I really, quite frankly, I know there's a chance it's bias, or I just love the concept so much I can't see 2 feet in front of me outside of it, but I really do think these songs are some of the best they've ever made. I think the writing is incredible. I think the atmosphere is unbelievable. It's so different from anything MCR's made before, but it still feels so in line with MCR as a band, and as their vision, and as their artistic purpose goes. It feels so in line with that. It's so out of time in a way that I really, really love. Nothing about these songs scream a specific year or a specific decade. They feel so otherworldly. Like, they feel so just like, I don't know. It's very, I think it's very incredible what they accomplish with these songs. And I would think it would be a shame if they never got to be heard. You know, if they do just take these songs to the grave with them and never officially release them, and had these not been leaked, I think it would have been the biggest shame for these not to be heard, because I think they really are just unbelievably incredible. And I don't think MCR's troubles as a band have to do with that quality. Like, I've seen some people try to insist that this album is why they broke up, or that we shouldn't listen to it because it's a reflection of their state at that time. And I don't think it has to be. You know, I think the problems MCR was having at that time as a band go far beyond the subject matter or the contents of Paper Kingdom. I think they were just very burnt out. I think they were struggling to know where they wanted to go together. I think they were maybe struggling as friends from just being on the road for as long as they were. I think, you know, they needed that 6-year break. They just did. And I don't think Paper Kingdom really changed that too much one way or the other. And I don't think they needed to be in a bad state to make these songs as good as they were. You know, like that's something I want to make clear, because I don't believe in the tortured artist rule that, like, oh, all great art has to come from someone who's tortured or someone who's suffering, because that's just not true. You know, you can have great art come from so much happiness and so much good places. And I also think good art, even if it comes from someone that's suffering or in a bad time, I think it can come from them, like, in spite of that, which is what I think Paper Kingdom kind of represents. You know, I think even though they were going through a hard time, I think Paper Kingdom's quality is, like, in spite of that. I think it's, like, that last bit of, like, good energy that, like, they had towards making music and being a band. They put it all into these demos, and then just kind of, you know, they realized they needed that break, and they took it, and it was good that they did. And I don't know. I probably sound crazy, but I think Paper Kingdom is one of the greatest things maybe ever made, like, musically. I think it really is a masterpiece, and I'm happy that it's out now. And I don't know. I don't know if it'll get the kind of love that it maybe deserves, or if fans will just not want to acknowledge it, or if it'll lead to anything in the future. I don't know. I hope one day I could make a movie based on it and it won't be considered, like, you know, ripping off this. I don't know, but I think what they've done with this is really incredible. And those are my thoughts on the Paper Kingdom leak. I'm sorry if you heavily disagree with my morality towards listening to it. You know, everyone's allowed to feel how they feel about this album, and quite frankly, this is how I feel. I think it's one of the greatest things ever created, and I feel very strange now that it's here. So thank you for watching this way too long video, and see y'all later.